Guys, I want to tell you guys a story of my experience with from what I think was a cannibal when I was 15 years old. So I met this guy. He lived in my city, and by the way, he's famous. Like, he has 2 million followers, and he hasn't posted in a really long time. And when I go to his page, people are like, "Oh, where are you? Like, he's doing a mental health break." No, babe. No. If you look his name up on the internet, it says blank groomed me. Blank allegations. I think he has too many victims that have posted stuff. And I think he's paying people off, because when you click on those search recommendations, it's just a bunch of nothing. It takes you to his TikTok. And DMCAs are a thing. So and I understand DMCAs. You can pretty much get anything you want taken down if you pay somebody. So basically, I met this guy. The first time we ever hung out, he was like, "You're not wearing that, go inside," and changed my outfit. And before you think, oh, he was dressing a little bit more modest, no, this guy literally picks out like the skimpiest outfit ever. He turns my crop top into a bra and my jeans into a skirt, which I didn't really care. I was, at the time, you guys, living with my sisters in an apartment, and my mom and her boyfriend lived 2 hours away, and we were all just attending the high school down the street. So I didn't really have much, and he was buying me groceries that day, so I was like, period, a man I can use. And that sounds really horrible, but I was in like fight or flight my whole growing up. So the first time I ever hung out with him, it really wasn't that bad. All he did, though, that was like red flaggish, was like he brought up an ex. He was like, "Oh, like, I hurt my ex so bad," like, and I'm just thinking like, oh, like maybe he like cheated on her, like, you know, like. And so I was rebounding with this guy. I just got my heart broken. So I was like, "Oh, like what happened, you know, like, what's wrong, why?" And he was like, "Oh, like, I hurt her." And now, like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, by hurt, did he mean like try to eat her? Like, okay, so he already was like verbally abusive on like day 2 of us hanging out. I was in this man's car, and I was VAPING, and he snatched out my hands, and he was like, pointed at a homeless guy, and he was like, "Do you want to be being homeless?" Like, getting in my face, yelling at me, calling me like a low life, basically. And I'm just like crying, begging him to stop. Like, this man's in my face screaming at me, and I'm like, please stop. Like, okay, like. And he's like, "You're sleeping at my house tonight, and I'm taking these, and you're going 24 hours without them if you want them back." So he like has my stuff. So I stay the night at his house that night, and I throw up of anxiety, and I get my stuff back in the morning. And I should have left, but I was 15 at this time, and I didn't have like any self-respect at all. And evil enough, this is like the best influence I have in my life at the time. He doesn't want me doing bad stuff, like, okay, so one day, another time I stayed the night at his house, he was like, "What are your grades? Let me see your grades." And I'm like, oh my god. I show him my grades, and he's just like, you know, like angry once again, mad, like, "You're sorting this out right now." So he brings me over to his desk, and he's like, "Sit on my lap," and he forces me to write an email to every single teacher that I had a bad grade in their class, and explain myself, and like basically ask for extra credit and chances to fix my grades. And so he's like forcing me to do this, and he's like, "If you can get your grades up, I will buy you a SIM card. But I will just buy you a SIM card because I need to be able to get a hold of you." So, free SIM card? Question mark. Obviously, it's very questionable, very weird. And so one night I come over to his house, and that night he had just bought a ring light, and I help him set it up. And he's like, let's use this ring light, like let's do a photo shoot. I have like a great idea in mind. So I'm like, okay, like I'm down for photo shoots, because he was pretty TikTok famous. Like I think at the time he had like 800K on TikTok. This was in 2020. And so we would do like photo shoots, because I had like 15K on TikTok at the time. So we would do like photo shoots and things like that. So he's like, okay, so take your clothes off and lay on the bed like this. So like helps me get situated in a position. He's like setting his phone. He's like, I will be right back. And he comes back with a knife and a fork and records everything. And then he's like, with the photos of it, he sends it to my phone and like takes my phone and posts it to my private Instagram so that my like ex, who wasn't my ex, would see it. And yeah, he made me post it. A very inappropriate, violent photo. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm never hanging out with this man again. Like, this is so odd. I want to go home. So I went, he takes me home, and as I'm shutting my apartment door, he's like, can I come in? Like, and I'm, yes, you can come in. Like, I have to go to bed soon. I'm tired, you know? I just wanted to be able to hit my stuff without him getting angry at me. So I'm like, oh, please hurry. And he comes to my house and he's like, sit on my lap, and he's like talking to me. And he's like, you know, like, do you know who my idol is? And I'm like, who? Who's your idol? And he says, Ted Bundy. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense after the last ordeal. So anyways, I cut him off. I don't say anything. I simply ghost him. And I'm like avoiding this problem. I ghost him. So after a couple days of ghosting him, he's like spamming me, nonstop texting, like, where are you? Answer me. And I'm just avoiding him, staying at my neighbor's house at the time, because I had like a neighbor next door who also didn't have parents, who was my age. And he was like my best friend at that time. I'm staying at his house, and I come home to my apartment just to grab some stuff, to grab some face wash, my toothbrush and stuff, because I was kind of living with my friend at this time. And I didn't have a key to this apartment. None of us had a key to this apartment, and he knew that. My mom, for some reason, like out of punishment, like took the apartment keys so that we couldn't lock the door anymore. I don't know what it was about. I think it was so nobody would lock the door. And so he knew that my door didn't lock. And I come home one day and I go in my elevator on the way to the apartment room, and I like smell the air, and I'm like, it really smells like this guy. Like, it smells like he was in here. And I'm walking down the hall to my apartment, and I'm like, what? It actually smells like he's here. I open my apartment door and I go inside, and is he in here? And I go into my bedroom, and there's an outfit laid out on my bed. So yeah, anyways, that was a whole ordeal. I ended up running away, not because of him. And by the way, my sister to this day is always like, dude, he knew he didn't have a fucking key. Like I can't believe you put us in danger. Like, my sister gets mad about it. Like, this guy was so creepy. So even my friend too, my home girl that I lived with, like, she knew about all this. He was harassing me in my TikTok comments, going off when I was living with her. And there was like TikTok of him, like, to this audio where it's like, run rabbit run, or something like that. And every time we'd hear it, she would like scream, and she was like, we were like scared because we would like envision him, because he was like this in the fucking video. And oh my gosh, traumatizing. And I didn't really register it until I turned 16. I was like, that's really weird. Oh, and I just want to say, you guys, I was 15 when this all happened, and when I met him, I thought he was 18, but I just looked up his age, and he's 4 years older than me.
Story time about how I got caught with a guy in my room. So this was based off in October of 2024. So not that long ago. And this boy is now my ex-boyfriend. So, yeah. I needed to get that off my chest that this is my ex-boyfriend and I despise him now. That's why I'm making this video. So, this boy used to always, and I mean always, sneak into my house all the time. And we were dating for under a month, so he would be over almost like every weekend, like maybe even more than that. Like, it was so bad. But me and him were just hanging out. I think he came over around like probably 12. That was normal at the time. And whenever he would sneak in my house, he would stay until it got bright outside. So around 6, that's how long he would stay. Like, he was there all night long. He was there obviously until like for like hours. It's like basically like a sleepover. That's basically what it was. And we would just like we would never do anything. Like, we would just like lay and like we would mostly sleep or like watch a movie. Like, it was nothing like bad. Like, we would just be sleeping, maybe a little bit of making out, but like that was all. Like, it was either sleeping, making out, or watching a movie. But I don't remember any of the movies that me and him watched. And the TV is really loud, like really freaking loud, blasting, because obviously when you're sneaking someone in or someone's in your house, you want it to be like, you want a noise. The TV was really freaking loud, but I didn't think it was loud, and so I just like, and then it was a movie playing at first, obviously, but then it just turned into music, and the music was just on the whole entire time. He's been there so many times that like I just didn't think anything of it. Little do I know that my dad can hear the TV across the house, because his room is across the house from my room, so I didn't think anything of it. I should have thought something of it, because his room heard my TV, which means it's loud. And obviously I'm not paying attention to the TV, and so I don't realize how loud it is. We're now around 3 a.m. and my dad walks into this room. And let me just clarify to you, at this time when he walks in, me and my boyfriend at the time were not doing anything. I promise you, we were probably like just like talking on the bed. Like, we were not doing anything. Just wanted to put that out there. Nothing was happening. My dad walks in and he was like, he wanted to see if I was awake, and I propped my head up. First bad decision. And he's like, and then he opens the door all the way and sees my TV on and the window open, because normally I don't like shut the door, I don't like close the window or anything. So he saw the window open. He's like, "You left again." I'm like, "Yeah, I just said that because like he can just leave." Nope, he did not leave. He saw, like, my boyfriend at the time went under the sheets obviously, and he pulled off the sheets, threatened him that he was gonna hit him with the bat, and made him leave obviously. And he left a bunch of stuff at my house. Well, not a bunch, but like he left stuff at my house because he was freaked out and left. He was gonna come back for them, but he's like, no. And so he left, and my dad, like, he just didn't say anything to me, and I was like really scared. I woke up the next day, like, I literally hid my iPad under my bed, because I normally use that when I'm grounded. So I hid it under my bed so he didn't take my phone, and if he did, I would just get my iPad. And so I was on call with him the whole entire time he was walking home, because he was freaking out, I was freaking out, everyone was freaking out. And the next morning comes around, and like I said, me and my dad did not say a word. I literally kept myself in my room, because I knew that like my stepmom knew. Like, I just like did not want to come out because I knew I was gonna get yelled at. and my dad didn't say anything to me. I did not come out until my mom was coming to pick me up. But the thing is, my mom didn't know what happened either, and she texts me and she's like, your dad just told me he needed to talk to me about something. And I'm just like, oh, so my mom doesn't even know. And so I'm like, I straight up just told her. I was just like, well, this happened and blah 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 blah. Like, I didn't care. And so whenever my dad would say something, she wouldn't care as much. You know what I'm trying to put out there. And now, sad enough to say, I have an alarm set for my window. So no more of those activities, even though I stopped those activities since that happened, I've been too scared. But funny thing is, my dad told me to write an apology letter and my consequences, and I said I will not see him anymore. And my mom let me see him that next whole entire week. So it's a win-win. And I never got grounded, so we're fine. Hey guys, get ready with me while I tell you the story of how I found out my best friend was sleeping with my dad. Okay, so a few months ago, back in March, me and her started hanging out a lot more. And I went and picked her up, and we went and drove around. And I was around the area of where my dad lives. My phone was dead. I didn't have a charger. So I called him on her phone to see if we could come see him. So I charged my phone. And from there, I think is where they started talking. So we post weekly podcast videos. We just started our podcast. We have one video uploaded. And I was going through on her iPad and editing our video, which her iPad is connected to her iCloud. And I saw a name come up. Me and my dad have the same middle name, and she had his name saved as that. So I was like, who is that? Click on it. I still don't know who it was. She tells me everything. She's my best friend. I click on the number, and it's my father's phone number. So I went through the messages after I found out it was my father. And there were like messages where he was telling her how to have a good day, and she told him to have a good day, that she missed him and she wanted to see him again soon. She had a good time with him. I think like maybe 2 weeks ago is when that text message was from. There were pictures of her, pictures of him, not like dirty pictures, like just like pictures of like what they were doing throughout their day and whatnot. And there was one text message where she said, we need to come clean, and he had told her basically that it would hurt me. Everything that you would expect out of a relationship basically through those text messages, but with my dad. So in that video, that was her entirely raw reaction. She had no idea that I was going to say that. I do plan on confronting my father about it. It's just a tough situation because he is in his 40s. He can do whatever he wants. We're all adults. She's almost 22. I'm 20. He did not know her. Let me make this very clear. He did not know her when we were little kids. We just started being friends in March. He knew her from the age she is now. He's not that weird, okay? He's not that weird. I think it was more of the fact that he just saw me hanging out with a pretty girl and he couldn't keep his hands off of her. So I will be confronting him as soon as I can make the time to do so, and he has his open schedule. But now that I'm thinking about it, obviously it wouldn't even make fucking sense to confront him because she's probably already fucking told him everything that's went down, to be completely honest. I haven't spoke to her since I confronted her. I literally made that video. She said, I'm sorry, and I walked the fuck out of the room, and I grabbed my keys and I left the house. I haven't spoke to her since. All in all, this is a really fucked up situation. I'm just as surprised as you all were. I literally only posted the video to cope with it, and I saw the trend and I was like, this is literally the perfect opportunity. And I really wish that I had more information on the subject, but I don't.
A year ago today, I found out that my husband was cheating on me. I've never shared the story on here as to exactly how this all happened and how everything unraveled. And I guess today I feel like I want to share that story with you. So leading up to this day, I spent a month of my life questioning who I was as a person. Everything about me was annihilated. My whole personality, who I was as a person. I felt so small that I was just unrecognizable as a person. My husband spent a month up until this date, which is the 24th of June, literally stepping away from me for no apparent reason from my perspective, for no reason. Other than the things that he was telling me, which was that I'd betrayed him, I wasn't the same person, I treated him like crap, I made him feel like an idiot, loads of different things. And so for a whole month, he spent time sleeping on this sofa right here. He spent most of his time out of the house. He would come home late from work, and when he did come back, he would go straight back out and go to the gym. And things were starting to not add up. And over the course of that month, I lost so much weight through not being able to eat. I questioned absolutely everything. I felt like I was going crazy. During that time, I had so many people say to me, "Are you sure he's not cheating on you?" And my response to every single one of those people was absolutely not. Never. He would never do that, because I trusted him, and I never thought that could be what he would do. I honestly never believed it. Now, there were a couple of things that I started questioning. So I did search his car, something that I am actually disgusted in myself at. He left his car here one day and went to work some other way. And I found a receipt in the car for an expensive pair of Apple AirPods. And I thought to myself, he knows I need a new pair. Mine were dying. And I thought, maybe, just maybe, in all this shit, he's actually bought those for me. But then I looked at the date, and I looked at the dates of messages that I'd spoken to him, and he said he was at work, but actually he was in our town, which he doesn't work in, buying said headphones. Then I was doing the washing, and I found a long dark hair attached to his sock. Now, for those of you that have been following me a long time ago on Budget with Becky, I was blonde. I've only been dark for the last 6, 7, 8 months. So it wasn't my hair. A few other things as well that just didn't add up. But I was just trying to push them to the side, and I took on board that this was me. The whole reason he was stepping away from our marriage and from me was because of me. And, it was the worst time of my life. On this day, this very morning, a year ago, my sister, who lives in Dubai, FaceTimed me. And she said to me, "Becky, I need you to look at this. I think he's cheating. I have been through his Facebook and his Instagram, and there's one particular girl that he has liked all of her posts on both Facebook and Instagram, which were all the same, where you merge them together and all the same pictures go on the same. So why do you need to go on both to like both?" Also, there were photos of the woman posing a little bit, I'll say slutty, with her, a bit of cleavage in a dress, that pose that we all have done. And he's never done that before. He's always been a very respectful person. I was happy for him to be friends with girls. I've got lots of guy friends. And, I'm happy for him to like pictures that are with her kids or her family or girls, whoever it is, in those kind of situations, but not dressed up, looking like what. And at this point, I still didn't believe it. And I actually got really angry with my sister. And I actually hate myself for that, because I hated my sister at this moment. I was like, how dare you? I was actually at a point where I'd had 4 weeks of all this shit going on. And I got to a point where I'd kind of accepted that it was going to be over and he was just going to move out. And it was my fault. So I got really angry with my sister, because that particular day I'd actually woke up feeling like a bit of relief, like it was going to be over and I could start healing and moving on. And it was just all my fault. And so I was angry with her, and I was like, "I'm going to have to hang up. You've really pissed me off. I woke up in a good mood, and now you've thrown this at me, and it just makes me feel like shit." And the woman that she had told me about is actually somebody that I don't know personally. My husband knew her. It did transpire later down the line that he had tried to date this person years before he met me. And in fact, when we were together, the first year we were together, we went to the beer festival that I'll be attending in a few weeks. And she, in fact, had messaged him the night after we'd been to this beer festival together. It was the first time she'd seen him face to face at the beer festival, saying that something like, oh, you're much hotter in person or something than you were in your pictures on POF or whatever it was that they'd met on. He explained a bit later down the line that at the time when he wanted to date her, she actually was going through some breakup with her husband, I think it was. And yeah, it just seemed a bit messy. Anyway, going back to where we were, there's so much to this story. Like, this is just the beginning. So it is going to have to be done in many parts. And today I'm choosing to share part 1 because it is a date that I have been dreading. So this woman actually, in fact, lives a few doors down from my best friend, who many of you know on here, Larry or Lara, who is, in fact, my husband's stepsister, which has also been a big complication and not very nice for the family. And so I spoke to my best friend and said to her, my sister's told me this. Obviously, I know this woman lives a few doors down from you. And we just couldn't believe it. Anyway, fast forward a few hours, the evening comes. He gets back from work, standing on the doorstep at 9 p.m. at night with a monster in his hand. And I know that he is affected by sugar massively. So he's like, I had to have one of these on the way home, otherwise I was never going to make it home. I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going straight back out to the gym. So he comes in, gets his gym kit on, makes it look believable, makes himself a gym drink, all that, and then he leaves. And so I get on the phone to my best friend and I say to her, can you look out your window in about 10 minutes, please? And look out for, at this point, she doesn't know what car he drives. So anyway, a car pulls in, goes into the little block of garages that are just down from their houses. And at that moment, said woman comes out of the house, walks down and into the block of garages. And at this point, I am pacing this living room, pacing. My heart was pounding. I felt so sick. So my friend goes out of the house, walks down to her car, gets in it and drives the 10 metres into the garages and pulls in directly behind them with her full beam on. Gets out the car and takes a photo of his car and sends it to me. And it's at that moment that I know this is 100% true. And so I message him the girl's name. I say, you better get back here right now and explain yourself. And about 20 minutes later, I get a text saying I'm on my way. And then when he walks in that door, we had a very long conversation. And then what came out of his mouth was still lies, more lies. And it was the start of a story that is, well, it's my life, and it's not been the one that I've wanted to live. It's been the most horrendous year of my life. I've done a lot of growing, a lot of crying, a lot of soul searching and figuring out myself, and still figuring out this whole situation. I'm still very hurt from it all, to be honest. Obviously, we're not together. There is more to this story. This story has some turns that I just would never wish on anybody. I never would. And I'm trying not to cry in this video because I've had enough of crying. I've had enough of doing it. And there's bits that I'm potentially going to be sharing that are very painful, very, very painful. But I find it helps if I share these things, and I feel like now is the time to kind of share, and maybe you guys might understand a bit more. Maybe it might help somebody that might be going through the same thing. Anyway, I'll end this here. This is part 1 of what unraveled my life last year. And yeah, gotta face it.